When I pointed out that Dylan, our intern, had made a critical error in his pitch, one that could have cost the company $3 million, he took it personally. Claimed I embarrassed him in front of the whole team. Next thing I knew, he was in the office of Victoria, the CEO's fiancée, threatening to quit. Victoria didn't even hesitate. She stormed straight into my office and confronted me, eyes blazing. Couldn't you have told him in private? He's young, he's sensitive, why did you have to humiliate him like that in front of everyone? Don't forget, his father, Gregory, is one of our major shareholders. Now you have two choices. She didn't blink. 1. I promote Dylan and give him a raise. You'll work under him as his assistant. In return, I'll agree to marry you. 2. You keep being your arrogant self, and we're done. She crossed her arms, waiting. When I didn't answer right away, she let out a smug little scoff. I knew it. You're not about to give up your chance to marry me. Then she started giving orders. Clear out your office for Dylan. And later. I cut her off, voice steady and cool. Sorry. I'll take option 2. I paused, then added, but I'm not waiting for you to dump me. I quit. And best wishes to you and Dylan, may you have a long, happy life together. Lots of kids, too. Marcus. Do you even hear yourself right now? She flew around the desk, face flushed. Victoria had always been composed, even calculating. This was the first time I'd seen her completely lose it. But I didn't flinch. I'm quitting. And we're done, I said calmly, already turning away. I began packing my things. I'd been here since the company's founding. This office had been mine for years. I knew every corner of it. I folded my blanket, unscrewed my thermos, slid project folders into a storage box. All the client files I was managing, I wouldn't be able to follow through on any of them. Most of those clients had signed with us because of me. Behind me, Victoria's voice turned sharp and cold. You're 34. You fought your way up to VP, do you have any idea how rare that is? You know what the market's like out there. And you're seriously throwing all that away? Over pride? I didn't respond. I just walked to the printer, pulled out a resignation form, signed it, and placed it on the desk. Victoria's brow furrowed so deeply it looked carved. Right then, Dylan walked in holding a tray of coffee. He gave me a side glance, cautious, sheepish. He's blaming me, isn't he? Trying to guilt me out by quitting? Victoria, don't make this about me. Marcus is the veteran here. I'll go, I'll leave. It's fine. His voice trembled, eyes shimmering with emotion. He was playing it just right. Victoria's hesitation vanished. All that remained was pure frustration aimed at me. I handed you an out, and you refused it. You really think this company can't run without you? She snatched my resignation from the desk, scribbled her signature across it, and slammed the paper into my chest. You're no longer an employee. Take your things and get out. Her voice was ice. As I looked at her, this woman I had once considered building a life with, something hollow stirred in my chest. But I didn't stop packing. Victoria and I met in college. Back then, I came from nothing. My family was poor, and I buried myself in books, hoping a degree would change my fate. But being different made me a target. Some of our classmates mocked me relentlessly, for my clothes, my silence, my hunger. Victoria was the only one who stood up for me. She'd shut them down with a sharp word and then sit next to me in the cafeteria like none of it mattered. It was her who chased after me, not the other way around. And through those 4 years, she never once treated me like I was less. After graduation, we started a company together. We built it brick by brick, through sleepless nights and countless failures. We promised each other that once the company was stable, we'd get married. But then everything changed. Gregory, Dylan's father, bought in as a major shareholder. Soon after, Dylan was dropped into our company as a summer intern. From the start, he was careless, sloppy, treating the job like a joke. Every mistake he made, I pointed out. Every time, Victoria warned me not to bully the new guy. I argued back, always with logic, always putting the company first. But Victoria began siding with Dylan more and more, brushing aside my concerns, defending him like he was fragile glass. And now, just because I brought up one of Dylan's screw-ups in a meeting, she tried to use our relationship to force me out. Looking back, I should have let go a long time ago. As I stepped out of the building, it started to rain. Not the hard, angry kind, just a cold, constant drizzle that seeped through your clothes like regret. Of course, I hadn't brought an umbrella. I reached for my phone to call a ride, only to see I had $3 left in my account. Not even enough for a cab. Over the years, I'd handed over every paycheck to her. She said once we were married, we'd need to manage our money wisely. To keep me from overspending, she made me get her approval for anything over $10. But she never seemed to apply those rules to Dylan. Just last week, she'd gifted him a Ferrari, $3 million, paid in full. Love or the lack of it, there's no mistaking the difference. I let out a bitter laugh, then walked home through the rain. When I got back to the apartment Victoria and I shared, I was soaked to the bone. I was just about to grab some dry clothes when I opened the door, and stopped cold. There she was, standing behind Dylan in the kitchen, gently tying an apron around him. Her hands moved like she'd done it 100 times. "Just stand still," she cooed. "I made all your favorites tonight. I promise they'll be just right for your picky little mouth." You sure?" "I've got high standards," he teased back. They laughed together, light and easy, like I didn't exist. Then Victoria saw me. Her smile vanished in an instant. Her voice turned flat. "I only made dinner for two. I figured Mr. Integrity over there wouldn't be caught dead eating at home tonight." I didn't respond. Just bent down to take off my shoes. She frowned, then tilted her chin toward me, a familiar smugness rising. "So you came back. I assume you've realized you were wrong?" She folded her arms. "Well? Don't just stand there. Go apologize to Dylan. If he's willing to forgive you, I'll forget this morning ever happened. Your position at the company? Still yours." Her eyes never left Dylan. She didn't even glance at my wet hair or the rain-soaked clothes clinging to my skin. No concern, no questions. Just commands. That was the moment something in me finally cracked. Even the best couples fall apart eventually. I said nothing. I didn't bother correcting her or asking why. I just walked past them and headed to the balcony. The laundry was still hanging there. I began quietly taking it down. Victoria was about to speak. My coldness had clearly bruised her pride, but before she could say a word, Dylan walked in, holding a steaming bowl of soup. And just like that, he accidentally bumped into me. The bowl slipped from his hands. The soup spilled all over him, splashing across his chest and arms. He let out a dramatic yelp and collapsed to the floor, clutching his scalded hand. "Ah! It's hot. I know you hate me, but this is too much," he cried, his eyes welling up with tears. Classic Dylan. This was his go-to move, his favorite trick to drive a wedge between me and Victoria. Back at the office, he'd pretend to pull all-nighters, then claim I was overworking him. He once even poured water on himself and said I'd lost my temper and thrown it at him. I'd always let it slide, figured it wasn't worth stooping to his level. But not this time. If he wanted to play the victim so badly, then fine. Let him. Before he could even get back on his feet, I calmly reached for the plate on the table, his freshly seared steak, still glistening in its juices, and dumped the entire thing onto him. The oily gravy soaked his shirt and dripped down into his hair. Dylan shrieked. Real tears spilled now as he scrambled on the floor, panicking. Victoria lunged forward and shoved me hard. "What the hell is wrong with you?" she shouted. "Why are you always attacking Dylan? You've crossed the line, this is beyond disappointing." I gave her a lopsided smile. "Disappointed? Good. Maybe now we can finally leave each other the hell alone." Her face turned scarlet. She opened her mouth, then shut it again, choking on her fury. Before she could fire back, Dylan let out another whimper, and she had no choice but to help him up and drag him toward the door. "We're going to the hospital," she snapped over her shoulder. The door slammed shut behind them. At last, the apartment was quiet. I exhaled slowly, as if something had finally been released from deep in my chest. Like a stubborn thread of hope had finally snapped. Victoria and I were truly over. No more pretending. No more holding on. Without hesitation, I pulled out my phone and called the HR director at Apex Ion Group, the most elite firm in the industry. "I've decided to accept your offer," I said simply. Over the years, headhunters from top companies had approached me again and again. I always turned them down. Apex Ion Group had tried several times. Their offer? Triple the salary, unmatched benefits, stock options, the works. But I'd said no, every single time, because of Victoria. Because I believed in her, in the company we built together. I gave everything I had to help her succeed. And now? She tossed me aside like I was nothing. Like all those years meant nothing. So this time, I was choosing me. On the other end of the line, the HR director sounded thrilled. "Mr. Ellington, we were hoping you'd come around. Would tomorrow work for your onboarding?" "No problem." After hanging up, I grabbed my suitcase and began packing, no hesitation, no looking back. It was time to walk out of this house, and into my future. As I gathered my documents, my eyes caught something tucked into the corner of the shelf, a small, dust-covered wooden sculpture. I froze. It was the hand-carved gift I'd made for Victoria's birthday. Every groove, every careful cut, was a trace of my affection, a reflection of how much she once meant to me. I remembered the way her face had lit up when she first unwrapped it. She'd said it was the most meaningful gift she'd ever received. When she noticed the dozens of tiny cuts on my hands, the price of crafting it without skill, just with stubborn patience, she'd rushed to grab the first aid kit, dabbing ointment with a trembling hand. That day, she promised she'd treasure the gift forever. But now? Now it lay abandoned in a forgotten corner, coated in dust. The custom-made display box I'd bought for it was still there, only now, it was filled to the brim with photographs of her and Dylan. Dozens of them. From cherry blossoms in spring to snow-covered streets in winter. Every season, every setting, the same two people. Over and over again. Like our love had been erased and rewritten, frame by frame. I stood there for a long moment, just staring. And finally, the truth settled. Ever since Dylan arrived, there hadn't been room for me, not in her heart, not in her life. Trying to win back someone who's already turned away, trying to save a love that's already rotted from the inside, it was always a fool's dream. Without a second thought, I picked up the sculpture and tossed it into the trash. Then I went back to packing. It didn't take long. Turns out, after 6 years of living in this apartment, everything I owned could barely fill a carry-on. Funny how love could fill your whole life, but leave so little behind when it's gone. Still, once my suitcase was zipped, the place already felt colder. Quieter. Emptier. I booked a cab and returned to my old studio apartment, a place I hadn't seen in years. I had bought it back when I was still single, before I moved in with Victoria to be closer to her. After that, it sat mostly unused. As I opened the door, I was greeted by the calm, minimalist space I'd designed for myself. Everything here was my taste, sleek lines, warm tones, a modern Italian aesthetic. With Victoria, I'd compromised on everything, the layout, the furniture, even the color of the walls. But now? I didn't have to compromise anymore. If I wanted green wallpaper, I'd put up green wallpaper. If I wanted to hang vintage jazz posters above the couch, no one would stop me. This place was mine. And for the first time in years, I felt like I could breathe. I dropped my bag in the entryway and was just about to call a cleaning service when my phone lit up. Victoria. I stared at the screen, expecting another accusation, more bitterness. But when I answered, her voice was calm. Almost gentle. "Can we not do this?" she said. "You hurt Dylan today, but he's a good person. He's willing to let it go." She continued, as if this were a perfectly normal conversation. "Just stay home and rest today. Tomorrow, go back to the office and assist Dylan with the project. He could use the help." Then came the real twist. "We're having the wedding in 3 days. That's what you wanted, right?" A pause. Then silence. I looked around the quiet apartment, mine again, finally, and couldn't stop the bitter laugh rising in my throat. That was it? Marriage, now offered like a bargaining chip. A prize for good behavior. As if that would make everything right. As if I hadn't already walked away. Over the years, I'd lost count of how many times I brought up marriage. I was always the one asking. Always the one waiting. But Victoria? She kept pushing it off with the same excuse: the company isn't ready yet. And at work, she insisted we keep our relationship a secret. She said it was to avoid gossip. Said it would be inappropriate to let anyone know. She wouldn't let me call her anything affectionate in the office, wouldn't even let me ride in her car. Not once. I didn't want to make things hard for her, so I went along with it. 6 years of hiding, 6 years of riding the subway in silence while she pulled up in tinted luxury. Still, I thought, if I just keep trying, if I just keep showing up, one day she'll finally say yes. And now, she had. Only, not for me. Her sudden change of heart came for someone else. A bitter smile pulled at my mouth just as I was about to respond, when I heard it. Dylan's voice on the line, breathy and overly delicate, like a child playing victim. "Forget it," he said dramatically. "If Marcus becomes my assistant, he'll just make things worse. He already hates me. I don't feel safe. I'm no match for Marcus. I'm too dumb, too slow." "Don't worry," Victoria murmured, her voice low and tender. "As long as I'm here, he won't hurt you again." Her tone, so soft, so full of care, made it sound like he was the one she was in love with. I winced, disgust curling in my stomach. Then I cut in, voice flat and cold. "Me? His assistant? Is he even qualified? If he's so talented, why would he need help at all? Shouldn't he be able to handle the entire project himself?" There was a beat of silence on the other end. Then Victoria snapped, her tone sharpening. "Why are you being like this? I agreed to the wedding. What more do you want? I gave you a chance. If you throw it away now, don't come crying later." And with that, she hung up. I didn't bother responding. I had more important things to deal with, like getting the place cleaned. I finished tidying up, stretched out on the couch, and started scrolling through the latest industry news. That's when a video call request from Dylan popped up on my phone. I almost didn't accept. But curiosity won. I tapped, connect, and there he was. Dylan, lounging like a king in Victoria's CEO chair, legs crossed, chin lifted, phone panning smugly around the pristine office. "Victoria asked me to work overtime in her office," he said with a gleeful sneer. "Even brought me water herself. Did you ever get that kind of treatment?" I stiffened. Victoria was famously obsessive about her office. She hated people touching her things. One time, an assistant stepped in to deliver a file. Victoria fired her on the spot. Even I wasn't allowed in without permission. But now Dylan was sitting there, putting his shoes on her desk. He leaned closer to the camera, eyes sparkling with mockery. "She's transferred all your projects to me," he whispered. "Gave me your title, too. I'm VP now. I'm replacing you, completely. You? You're nothing now." I let out a sharp laugh. "Well," I said, "in that case, do your best. Try not to bankrupt her company too fast." "Fuck." He exploded, rising to his feet, hand mid-gesture. But before the tantrum could finish, I heard a door creak open behind him. A split second later, the call cut. Just like that. The screen went black. I let out a quiet, scornful laugh. If Victoria truly believed Dylan could handle all the projects on his own, then she was in for a rude awakening. That company was as good as doomed. The next morning, I went in for a face-to-face meeting at Apex Ion Group. Everything went smoothly. I told them I'd be ready to start soon. On the way back, as I walked past a downtown plaza, I heard something that made me freeze mid-step. Two voices. Familiar ones. "That looks fun over there," a man said. "Some kind of event. Wanna check it out?" I turned instinctively. There they were, Victoria and Dylan. A street event was underway. From the banners and the crowd, I gathered it was a couples kissing contest. The prize? A brand new rice cooker. Dylan lit up like a kid at a carnival, tugging on Victoria's arm, bouncing with excitement. "Let's do it. Come on, it'll be fun." I didn't even think twice. Victoria would never. She hated stuff like this. Always said it was tacky and juvenile. But then she looked up at Dylan, and smiled. Not just any smile, a soft, indulgent one. The kind she used to give me when we were still something. "Okay," she said sweetly. "Whatever you say." She let him take her hand as they stepped up to register for the contest. The host blew a whistle. Victoria turned, slid her arms around Dylan's neck, eyes warm with affection. The crowd, eager for spectacle, began chanting. "Kiss! Kiss! Kiss!" Victoria hesitated for just a beat. Then she leaned in and gave Dylan the quickest peck on the lips, barely a brush, like a dragonfly skimming water. When she pulled back, her face was flushed. She giggled softly, bashfully, her cheeks the color of ripe cherries. The crowd went wild. "Ah, they just started dating, huh? You can smell the love from here. Look at them, she's stunning, and he's got that golden retriever energy. Match made in heaven. Seriously, this is what love should look like." I stood at the edge of it all, half invisible in the sea of strangers, feeling like the punchline to a cruel joke. I remembered the time I asked Victoria to take a photo booth picture with me. She'd scoffed. Said it was silly. That we were too old to be acting like teenagers. She gave me a little speech about maturity, about how our love didn't need childish theatrics to prove it was real. And yet here she was now, kissing a boy on stage, grinning like a schoolgirl, soaking up the cheers of strangers. So it wasn't the antics she hated. It was me. I wasn't the man she wanted to be silly with. I wasn't the one worth giggling for in public. I turned to leave. I'd seen enough. But just as I pivoted, our eyes met. Across the crowd, Victoria spotted me. She froze. The smile vanished. In a blink, she stepped back, putting a gap between herself and Dylan. And in that tiny moment, when her joy cracked and her posture shifted, I saw something flicker across her face. Guilt? Regret? Maybe. But it was too late. Victoria parted her lips, about to say something. But Dylan jumped in first. "Well, what a coincidence," he said with a smirk. "You didn't follow us here, did you?" Just like that, Victoria's expression darkened. "You followed me?" I kept my voice even. "I was just passing through. On my way back from a meeting." Victoria narrowed her eyes. "You quit your job. What meeting could you possibly have? You're a grown man, why lie over something so pointless?" Then her tone sharpened, colder than before. "And seriously, stalking me? That's a massive invasion of privacy. I can't believe you don't even trust me with something this basic. How do you expect me to marry someone I can't rely on?" "Right. Of course." In Victoria's world, my entire life revolved around her and her company. She liked to believe she was the one supporting me. But if she'd ever bothered to actually know me, she would have seen I was far more capable than she ever gave me credit for. I gave up everything, for her. Turned down opportunities others would have killed for. And now? I looked at her, expression unreadable. "Well," I said, voice dry, "you kissed him in public. That's a pretty clear commitment. Might as well follow through with the wedding." Color rose in her cheeks. Her lips parted, but she didn't have a comeback this time. Dylan, meanwhile, was glowing with smug satisfaction, fanning the flames. "Hey now, don't take it the wrong way. I just really wanted that prize, and Victoria, being the sweetheart she is, was helping me out. That's all. No need to be jealous." I saw right through him. He was trying to provoke me. Once upon a time, it would have worked. I would have argued, demanded an explanation, asked Victoria to choose. But not today. Today, I simply gave them a dismissive glance and said, "Victoria and I are over. Whether you two kiss or get married right here in the street, it's none of my business." Dylan blinked, surprised I hadn't taken the bait. Victoria's face tightened with frustration. "I already explained everything. Why are you making this such a big deal?" I didn't answer. I stepped around her without a word, and walked away. Back home, my phone buzzed. It was Victoria. Message after message. "Why did you move out of the apartment? Stop being dramatic. You're really going too far this time." I didn't reply. The truth was, I'd moved out the day before, and she hadn't even noticed until now. That alone said everything about how much attention she paid to me. Moments later, a few more notifications popped up. Several of our shared apps, calendar, finance, smart home access, sent alerts. Linked accounts disconnected. Back when things were good, we had everything synced. We thought we were inseparable. Even when we fought, we never unlinked anything. But now? She'd severed them all in one go. I didn't need to guess how angry she was. And I didn't care. That part of my life was already over. The next 2 days were a blur of meetings, orientation, and onboarding at Apex Ion. I threw myself into the new job completely. Victoria didn't reach out, not once. But she didn't stay quiet either. Every few hours, she'd update her socials with carefully curated moments featuring Dylan. Photos of them at brunch. A clip of him driving her car. One post simply showed 2 wine glasses and the caption, "Nothing like good company." She even replaced our matching profile icons with solid black images. Changed our couple nickname. And the wedding photo she'd once pinned to her Instagram bio? Gone. Deleted. I knew what she was doing. She was waiting for me to reach out first. Waiting for me to cave. But I didn't. Because I no longer cared. On the evening of the 3rd day, I got home to find a cardboard box sitting at my door. Scrawled across the front in bold marker. For Marcus. I carried it inside and opened it. Inside was everything. Every scrap of history. The first love letter she ever wrote me, back in college when she nervously confessed how she felt. The matching keychains she bought for us. Polaroids from that beach trip in spring, the one where we fought about where to eat, then laughed all night under the stars. Even a scrapbook page with her lipstick imprint, the kiss that marked our first night together. One by one, I lifted each item out. Held it. Remembered. And then, slowly, I began feeding them into the fire. One letter. One trinket. One photo. The past, burning bright in orange and gold. I didn't flinch. The fire cracked, danced, and consumed everything we once were. And for the first time in a long time, I felt still. Not angry. Not heartbroken. Just, still. That's when the front door burst open. Victoria stormed in, eyes wide, breath ragged. She saw the flames. No, she cried out, rushing forward. She didn't hesitate. She reached into the fire, grabbed a half-burning photo with her bare hands, and started slapping at the flames. Her skin hissed under the heat. Blisters bloomed across her palms. But she didn't stop. "What the hell are you doing?" she screamed. "Why would you burn them?" It took everything she had to put the fire out. Her once pale hands were now angry red, bubbling with fresh blisters. Tears shimmered in her eyes, not just from pain, but from fury. "You remember what these meant to us, don't you?" she shouted. "How could you just burn them? I sent them to you because I thought." She trailed off. But I knew. Victoria knew me too well. She knew I was sentimental. She always used to say I carried memories like bruises, always aching but never forgotten. Sending that box wasn't random. It was her way of extending a hand, her version of an apology. Wordless, indirect, prideful. A quiet little staircase, waiting for me to step down and forgive her. And in the past, I would have. I always did. But I was tired now. Tired of being the one who bent first. Tired of always patching holes in a one-sided love. This time, I didn't want to climb her staircase. I didn't even look at her. I just said, calmly. "Didn't you send that box for me to take care of?" I took care of it. Keeping it served no purpose. Burning it seemed appropriate. Victoria stared at me, speechless. She looked like she couldn't recognize the man standing in front of her. Like she'd expected tears, or guilt, or even anger. But instead, all she saw was peace. And that frightened her more than anything. After a long silence, Victoria finally spoke, voice soft, almost coaxing. "All right, don't be mad anymore. I'll admit, when you called Dylan out in that meeting, you were right. You were thinking of the company. I only made you apologize because he's Gregory's son. That's all." She paused, then added, gently. "I know I hurt you. I'm sorry, okay? Come back to the company. Resume your role as VP. You and Dylan can be on equal footing. Just, try not to interfere with his work anymore. Can we agree on that?" I looked at her in silence, not saying a word. Because honestly, I found it all laughable. She made it sound like favoritism started and ended at work. But it didn't. It never did. I remembered that week I came down with a terrible flu, barely able to move, burning with fever. I needed her. I asked her to stay. But Dylan wanted help with a project, so she left me home, sick in bed, to go play savior to him. On our 6th anniversary, I planned dinner. Bought wine. Cooked every dish she loved. But Dylan happened to say, "I wish I could see fireworks tonight." So she booked the entire city's pyrotechnics display for him, while I sat alone, watching the food go cold under candlelight that flickered all night long. At some point, you tell a lie enough times, you start to believe it. And I think that's exactly what happened to her. I didn't bother pointing it out. I had no interest in dragging her contradictions into the light. Still, she went on, undeterred by my silence. But there's one condition, she said, adjusting her tone. Before you return, I need you to apologize to Dylan. You did lay hands on him last time. If he agrees to forgive you, you're good to come back. I couldn't help it, this time, I laughed. Right in her face. You really think that highly of yourself, huh? I said, eyes cold. Did I ever say I wanted to come back? You want me to apologize to Dylan? I scoffed. Let me be clear, he's not even worth it. Victoria's smile froze. For a second, her mask slipped. But she quickly recovered, reaching into her purse. She pulled out a wedding invitation. My name and hers, printed in gold script. I stared at it, confused. She sighed, like she was explaining something to a child. Stop being difficult. Look, this is our wedding invitation. I've already booked the venue. The guests are invited. Everything's set. I promised we'd get married, and I keep my promises. 3 days from now, we'll have our ceremony and make it official. There. Happy now? I looked down at the invitation. That piece of paper she never gave me when I begged for years. She had so many chances, so many opportunities to give our love the recognition it deserved. But she only ever offered me a name when my heart had already let her go. I didn't say a word. Before I could reject it, she shoved the invitation into my hands, forceful and final. Get yourself ready. I'll come pick you up in 3 days. And with that, she turned and walked out the door. But she didn't know one thing. She was going to be disappointed. Because 3 days from now, was the day I start at my new company. And this time, I wouldn't throw away my future for her, not again. Moments after she left, my phone buzzed. Dylan. Heard Victoria's planning a wedding with you? Don't get too cocky. As long as I'm around, that wedding isn't happening. Believe me? Just wait and see. I wasn't sure what he meant then. But soon, I'd find out exactly what he had planned. 3 days later, I put on my suit, ready to head out for my first day at Apex Ion Group. Just as I opened the door, I found Victoria standing there. She was dressed to perfection, designer gown, flawless makeup, every detail meticulously arranged. It was obvious she'd put in a great deal of effort for today's wedding. Her eyes fell on my suit, and she smiled, mistaking my attire for wedding preparation. So, she said, clearly pleased, you're ready. Good. The guests have already arrived. They're just waiting on us. She reached out to take my hand. I pulled back. Then, without a word, I took out a sanitizing wipe from my pocket and slowly, deliberately, cleaned my hand. Her expression darkened. What's that supposed to mean? She asked, voice tightening. You think I'm dirty? Just a bit of germophobia, I said coolly. Tension settled between us like fog. Then her phone rang. She answered, and as she listened, her expression shifted from confusion to alarm. Her eyes flicked up to mine, hesitant. Dylan fell down the stairs. They say it might be serious. Of course. Dylan. No matter the moment, no matter the stakes, if it was between me and Dylan, Victoria's choice was always clear. Only this time. I didn't feel anything. No disappointment. No jealousy. No hollow ache in my chest. In fact, Dylan's perfectly timed accident felt like a blessing. It was 9:30. I was due at Apex Ion by 10. I couldn't afford to be late, not today. I looked at Victoria calmly. Well, what are you waiting for? I said. Go take him to the hospital. This is serious, right? Don't waste time. She blinked, startled by my response. This wasn't how I was supposed to react. If it were the old me, I would have exploded. Demanded answers. Made a scene. But now? Now I couldn't be bothered. She stared at me a beat longer, visibly trying to make sense of my indifference. But time was pressing. Fine, she said, recovering. Just, head to the venue without me. I'll meet you there once Dylan's taken care of. With that, she turned and rushed off. But she didn't realize, I wouldn't be waiting this time. As soon as she disappeared down the hall, I ordered a car and headed to Apex Ion Group. The whole ride there, my phone wouldn't stop buzzing. I finally checked. Dylan. A stream of messages. Photos. Voice notes. All meant to provoke. One image showed Victoria gently tucking a blanket around him in the hospital bed, her gaze soft, maternal. Another photo captured an entire team of doctors. Apparently, she'd brought in every available specialist just to treat a minor scratch on Dylan's leg. You see that? Victoria's so worried about me, she called the top doctors in town. Did she ever do that for you? You were with her 6 years. So what? In the end, you still lost, to me. I'm the one who really matters to her. If I say the word, she'll ditch your wedding in a heartbeat. This wasn't even new. Dylan had always been this way, petty, insecure, desperate to prove he'd won. Once, that would have been enough to break me. Now? I simply locked my screen and tossed the phone aside. Not worth it. Not anymore. When I arrived at Apex Ion Group, HR gave me a quick tour and led me to my new desk. I had just sat down when my phone rang. Victoria. I answered. Her voice exploded through the speaker before I could even say hello. The priest just called me. He said you never showed up. What the hell is going on, Marcus? You promised you'd be there, how could you back out at the last minute? Was it because I took Dylan to the hospital? You said you didn't care. I actually thought you'd matured. But clearly, you've just been pretending all along. God, you haven't grown at all. I didn't raise my voice. Didn't even flinch. I never said I'd go to the wedding, I replied calmly. And we broke up, remember? What exactly were we supposed to be celebrating? There was a beat of silence on the other end. She hadn't expected this. She thought I'd fold, because I always did. Because for years, I'd clung to the fantasy of marrying her. I'd made it my birthday wish every year. I'd planned it out in my head 1,000 times. And she'd gotten used to the power imbalance. In her mind, she was the boss, the provider, the one with status. I was the man she graciously kept around. The man she let love her. Without her, I was nothing. At least, that's what she believed. When she finally spoke again, her voice was icy. I already invited everyone. You humiliated me in front of my family. My friends. How do you expect me to face them now? I'm telling you right now, you will go to that venue and explain everything. In person. Or we're finished for good. Before I could respond, Dylan's syrupy voice slipped into the call. Come on, babe, don't lose your temper over something like this. A wedding needs a groom, right? If he doesn't show, people are going to talk. It'll be so awkward for you. Don't worry about me. I'll be fine. What matters is the wedding. Marcus is more important than me right now. I'd had enough. My voice was cold, flat, cutting. If you're so eager to help, Dylan, why don't you be the groom? Honestly, the two of you look more like a couple than we ever did. That shut them both up. Victoria's tone snapped from cold to furious. Do you even hear yourself right now? But I didn't give her the chance to continue. I ended the call. Later that day, a mutual friend called and filled me in. With neither bride nor groom present, the wedding had to be cancelled. Victoria was forced to stand alone before her guests and apologize, scrambling to save face as questions and whispers spread like wildfire. And when the guests realized there was no wedding, she became the subject of every group chat, every brunch conversation, every passive-aggressive Facebook post in her circle. The best part? Everyone there was from her side, her friends, her family, her colleagues. I'd already told mine everything. None of my people showed up. I had nothing to lose. But Victoria? She lost everything she valued most. And for once, I didn't have to lift a finger. After that day, Victoria completely turned on me. She blew up my phone with calls and messages, one after another, angry, accusatory, borderline desperate. You humiliated me. I can't even show my face anymore. Do you have any idea what people are saying? They're calling me a discarded has-been. You went too far this time. If you want forgiveness, you better show some sincerity. By sincerity, I knew exactly what she meant. It wasn't an apology she wanted. It was what I used to give her every time we fought. $1 million contracts I'd bring into the company just to calm her down. Lavish gifts, custom jewelry and hard-to-find accessories she loved, painstakingly sourced from all over the world. The grand gestures. The desperate peacemaking. That was her version of reconciliation, me bending over backward while she sat on her throne, arms crossed, waiting to be pleased. Looking back, I realize I'd been bleeding for someone who never once offered me a bandage. Not this time. I didn't reply. I left her messages unread. Let her spiral alone. But instead of quieting down, she doubled down, firing off message after message in rapid succession. Why aren't you answering? I can see you read it. What does seen and silence mean to you? Say something, damn it. But not long ago, it was her ignoring me. Leaving my texts on read, brushing off my feelings as if I were some unstable burden. I'd voice my frustrations, and she'd roll her eyes. Stop being dramatic. You're overreacting. You're always making problems out of nothing. And now? Now that she was the one in pain? Suddenly silence was unbearable. Turns out, a knife only hurts when it's pointed at you. I was done. I blocked her number. Deleted every trace. Predictably, she didn't take it well. In a final fit of bitterness, she tried to blacklist me across the industry, calling in favors, whispering threats, pulling strings, hoping to sabotage any job offers that might come my way. The problem? She didn't know I was already ahead of her. She thought I'd be scrambling. Begging. Powerless. But I'd already found a new home, Apex Ion Group, and I was thriving. She had no leverage left. I figured that was the last I'd ever see of her. That we'd both go our separate ways, never crossing paths again. But fate has a twisted sense of humor. Because just when I thought it was over, we met again. That morning, I scanned in at the front desk like usual and walked into the lobby of Apex Ion Group. And just as I stepped inside, I saw them. Victoria and Dylan, walking side by side, laughing like they didn't have a care in the world. You need to nail this project, Victoria was saying. Close the deal, and I'll make sure you get that promotion. You're too good to me, Dylan replied, his voice sugary with gratitude. That's when Victoria saw me. The laughter vanished from her face in an instant, her expression hardening into ice. What are you doing here? Dylan turned with a crooked grin, dripping smugness. Do we even need to ask? Obviously, Marcus couldn't bring himself to beg you face to face, so he came here instead, to catch you off guard and try to get his job back. Victoria's eyes narrowed as the theory took root. Her face remained cold, but I caught the flicker of satisfaction beneath the surface. I see, she sneered. So now that you're unemployed and out of options, you're back to groveling. You blocked me, humiliated me, and now you're stalking me at work? You know, she went on, arms crossed, voice dripping disdain, I gave you a chance before. You refused to take it. And now you're crawling back? You really don't know when to quit. But I'm generous, she added, her tone condescending. You want to come back? Fine. Start from the bottom, as an intern. And first, you'll apologize to Dylan. Otherwise? She tilted her chin upward. There's nothing to discuss. She stood there like a queen issuing a royal decree, expecting me to bow. Dylan, meanwhile, looked like he was trying to play the noble one. Come on, he said, oozing false humility. It's water under the bridge. As long as Marcus doesn't cause trouble, I'm willing to let it go. We're colleagues now, right? Let's work together peacefully. Victoria beamed at him. You're too kind, she said warmly. Kindness is a double-edged sword, though. People take advantage of men like you. Then her gaze shifted back to me, sharp, cold, commanding. But Dylan's forgiveness doesn't change the facts. You still owe him an apology. What you did, dumping food on him, was physical assault. It crossed a line. His face is still sore, she added, as if reading from a script. I glanced at Dylan. His face was perfectly fine, glowing, even. It was absurd. Victoria didn't even flinch as she lied straight to my face. Once upon a time, she'd stood up for me like this. Fierce. Protective. Like a mother lion defending her own. Now she was the same lioness, but I was no longer hers. She'd simply changed who she spread her wings over. Same posture. Same fire. Different man. Seeing me stand still, Victoria shot me a frosty glance, her voice sharp with authority. Well? What are you waiting for? Get over here and apologize. Or do you not want your job back? The way she and Dylan echoed each other, playing their roles like a well-rehearsed act, was so absurd, I could hardly muster a reaction. Who said I wanted to apologize? I replied flatly. And I sure as hell don't want to work at your company. Now, if you'll excuse me, get out of my way. Victoria's face dropped in disappointment, eyes narrowing. You're being ridiculous. I've been more than generous giving you the chance to come back. What more do you want? Before I could answer, Dylan jumped in, wearing that smug, all-knowing look of his. Oh, I get it now, he said. Marcus is still bitter because I took over his position and his projects. Feels like I stole something from him. He gave a faux thoughtful sigh. Maybe I should just step aside, huh? Let him have his job back. I mean, he is probably more capable than me. Don't say that, Victoria interrupted, sharp and firm. You deserve that position. You earned it. She shot me a withering glare, as if the fact I hadn't thrown myself at their feet was some kind of moral offense. But all I felt was tired. How could someone like Dylan be so wildly confident with so little competence? And how could Victoria not see how badly this could end? Still, it wasn't my problem anymore. I didn't work there. I wasn't her anything. So I just shook my head, sighed, and turned to leave. I'm talking to you. Victoria barked, her voice rising. Don't you walk away from me. But just then, her phone rang. Abrupt. Urgent. She answered quickly. Though it wasn't on speaker, I could hear every word of the panicked assistant on the other end. Something's wrong, seriously wrong. The proposal we submitted yesterday has a major error. It caused huge losses for the client. They're threatening to sue. Victoria's expression froze. Her voice dropped cold. Whose project was this? There was a pause. Then the assistant answered, trembling. project lead, was Dylan. The color drained from Victoria's face. She slowly turned to Dylan, her gaze sharp enough to cut glass. Dylan took an instinctive step back, panic blooming in his eyes. There has to be a mistake," he stammered. And then, desperate, he pointed at me. These were Marcus's accounts. I inherited them. He's responsible too. You think quitting means you can dump all your mess on me? Dylan cried. I won't let you pin this on me. To sell the act, he slipped easily into victim mode, voice cracking with emotion as he turned to Victoria. I was just handling the work Marcus left behind. He must have sabotaged it on purpose. Please, don't tell me you believe him over me. For a moment, Victoria's eyes narrowed in suspicion. But as she looked at his trembling frame and teary eyes, her expression softened, just like it always did. Like clockwork. Her suspicion faded, replaced by that same maternal tenderness she once reserved for me. Victoria frowned and gave me one last glance before turning to Dylan, her voice suddenly gentle again. Let's go back to the office. We'll sort this out, she said softly. Of course I believe you. And if Marcus did sabotage anything, I'll make sure he pays for it. Then she turned and walked away, heels clicking sharply on the tile. As Dylan trailed behind, he paused at the door and shot me a smug grin. See that? He sneered. No matter what happens, Victoria will always choose me. I didn't bother replying. I walked past him and stepped into the elevator, closing the door on his arrogance. That afternoon, I caught wind of what happened next. A colleague quietly pulled me aside and filled me in. The client, the one whose account I used to manage personally, had always been cooperative under my lead. I'd built trust with them over time, kept the workflow smooth, the expectations clear. But once Dylan took over, everything went sideways. Sloppy communication. Missing documents. Wrong figures. Elementary mistakes that any intern should have caught. The fallout was immediate. When the client found out the project lead had been quietly swapped without notice, and that the new person had caused massive losses, they were furious. Now they were threatening to sue Victoria's company for breach of contract and negligence. Inside the office, chaos reigned. Victoria was spiraling, trying to put out fires left and right. And in the middle of it all, Dylan, fumbling, panicked, trying to play the victim. A former co-worker had managed to catch a voice recording from outside Victoria's office. I didn't know such a small issue would cause all this. I messed up, okay? I know I messed up. What should I do? I'll go apologize to the client myself. Please don't ignore me, I'm devastated. But the real blow came when Victoria learned the full extent of Dylan's mistakes, how basic, how preventable they were. And how many red flags had been missed simply because she chose to look the other way. She snapped. For the first time ever, she didn't protect him. She marched into the open floor, holding the rejected proposal, and threw it in Dylan's face. Hard. Marcus warned me about your work ethic, she said, voice like a whip. And I still defended you. I didn't know you were this stupid. Get out. Dylan, stunned, stood frozen as the room went silent. Then came the tears. But this time, Victoria didn't melt. She turned her back on him and walked into her office, slamming the door shut. Dylan chased after her, pleading, desperate. But Victoria didn't respond. The recording ended there. Maybe this was karma. The very same Dylan she once guarded so fiercely had finally given her a taste of what it felt like to defend the wrong person too long. She used to tell me I was overreacting, too strict, too harsh. That Dylan just needed patience. But now that it was her money, her reputation, her company on the line, patience was in short supply. And I thought that was the end of it. I thought maybe that would be the last page of whatever book Victoria and I once shared. But I was wrong. that was just the beginning. That evening, I came home from work like any other day. But the moment I opened the door, I froze. You? Inside my apartment, my private apartment, Victoria was sitting calmly on the couch, as if she lived there. When she saw me, she stood up quickly and walked over with a strange softness in her voice. "You're back," she said gently. Her tone caught me off guard. For a moment, I almost didn't recognize her. I gave a flat nod. "What are you doing here? And how did you even get in?" This place was mine. My name on the deed. My lock on the door. I had never given her a key. She hesitated for half a second before answering. "I got a locksmith to open it," she said quietly. I walked past her, sat down on the armchair opposite the couch, deliberately leaving space between us. She followed, easing onto the cushion beside me, her tone soft, almost cautious. "You've probably heard what's been going on at the company. I know the client's lead on that project is close with you. Can you reach out? Try to smooth things over? Ask them not to pursue legal action?" She paused, then admitted, finally, with real weight in her voice. "It was Dylan's fault. I've confirmed everything." Her voice cracked slightly with guilt. "You always said he was careless. You tried to protect the company. And she looked down, I thought you were being too harsh. I didn't want to hurt his pride. I had no idea he was so incompetent." Now that was a surprise. The first time I'd ever heard her say a single critical word about Dylan. And I understood immediately, she hadn't come to apologize. She was here to ask for help. To clean up the mess. But the client didn't respect me out of personal loyalty. They worked with me because I was professional. Because I handled things right. Now that same client had been misled, lost money, and had their reputation damaged because someone else had been put in charge, and failed miserably. And she wanted me to step in? To risk the credibility I'd spent years building to cover for someone else's incompetence? I shook my head, calm and unmoved. "Sorry," I said. "Can't help you." Victoria tensed. Panic flickered in her eyes. She reached for my hand. "I'm not asking as the company's CEO," she said quickly. "I'm asking as your girlfriend. We've been together for so many years, the company's in trouble. Why wouldn't you help me?" Her eyes shimmered with unshed tears, her voice pleading. But I pulled my hand away. "We're not together," I said evenly. "Or did you forget, we broke up?" She choked on silence. For a long moment, she just stared at me. I thought we were just going through a rough patch," she said, voice hoarse. "I didn't think you actually meant it." Her gaze turned hollow. "I never wanted to really fire you. I only defended Dylan because he's the shareholder's son. There was nothing romantic between us. Why are you being so petty about all this?" I let out a dry, humorless laugh. "You remember what you said back when we started the company?" She looked at me, confused. "You said, once the company was stable, we'd get married," I reminded her. "You said I was the only one for you. But when that time came, you wouldn't go public with me. Wouldn't even call me your boyfriend, let alone your fiancée. You didn't want marriage. You didn't want me. If I'd been petty," I added quietly, "we would have ended a long time ago." Victoria didn't speak. She just sat there, for once with nothing to say. The weight of her own contradictions folding in on her. And the silence said everything. She looked at me, guilt clouding her eyes. Her lips parted, like she was about to explain. But nothing came out. Whatever she might have said, it would have sounded hollow. Eventually, her voice came out low and cracked. "If you help me this time, we'll get married. Right away. Okay?" I didn't flinch. "I want you to leave," I said coldly. "You're not welcome in my home. Otherwise, I'll have to call the police, for trespassing." The moment she realized I was serious, the fire drained from her eyes. Reluctantly, Victoria got up and left. The door closed behind her with a solid finality. And once again, I was alone. The silence settled heavy around me, but I didn't move. I sat there wondering how two people who once shared everything could turn into this. But it didn't matter anymore. There was no going back. 2 days later, word got around. Victoria had agreed to pay full compensation to the client. Dylan had been demoted, stripped of his title and placed back at the bottom as an intern. He made several clumsy attempts to win Victoria over again, but she was distant, indifferent. The warmth she used to give him was gone. Not long after, disaster struck again. Every project Dylan had touched in recent months turned out to be riddled with errors. Contracts violated. Delivery dates missed. Losses incurred. Clients started showing up at the company, furious, demanding compensation, some even threatening lawsuits. Rumors flew across the industry like wildfire. Deals on the verge of closing were suddenly pulled. Reputations damaged overnight. And then the shareholders showed up. Leading the charge, Gregory. Right there, in front of the entire company, he tore into Victoria without mercy, 10 straight minutes of shouting, finger-pointing, accusations. The staff just stood in stunned silence as the company's queen was publicly humiliated. Then Gregory marched straight into the shareholder boardroom, and the real reckoning began. And through it all, Victoria said nothing. She didn't dare explain that the one who had caused this mess was Gregory's own son. Dylan stayed dead silent the whole time. Didn't defend himself. Didn't speak. Didn't even look up. For someone Victoria had protected like a lioness, he curled into himself like a coward. It was the first time anyone had seen her, Victoria, look truly powerless. No armor. No defense. Just silent defeat. Eventually, another employee stood up and explained the full truth of what had happened. Only then did the chaos subside. But it was too late. The damage was done. The financial hole was too deep. Gregory and several other major shareholders pulled their investment. They left Victoria with the wreckage, and walked away. All this came to me in bits and pieces, from old co-workers who still kept in touch. They sent me screenshots, audio clips, whispered stories from the inside. I didn't feel glee. Just a strange sense of detachment. It had nothing to do with me anymore. At least, that's what I thought. But I underestimated her. A few days later, Victoria started showing up again, full-blown win-him-back mode. She brought homemade meals to my door. Intercepted me on my way to work, arms full of flowers. She was no longer proud, just desperate. Her eyes brimming with regret, her voice trembling with apology. "I was wrong," she said. "I misjudged people. I misjudged you. Let's try again, okay? Please. You don't know how much I need you, how much the company still needs you. And here," she pulled out an envelope, "your salary. Everything I held for you over the years. Every cent. It's yours." I took the envelope. Counted nothing. But as for the apology, I didn't take that. And I didn't say yes. "Stop wasting your time," I told her, flat and final. We broke up. Instead of chasing me around, maybe focus on the mess your company's become. It was the 9th time I'd rejected her. Victoria stood there, wilted flowers in her arms, her confidence crumbling a little more with every word. The next day, she texted me. "I got splashed with hot oil while cooking. I'm covered in burns, can you come take me to the hospital?" I replied without hesitation. "That's something you should ask Dylan." She responded instantly. But this time, Her voice note carried the unmistakable edge of tears. "Dylan and I aren't speaking anymore. You're the only person I can ask. You wouldn't just let me suffer like this, would you?" I hesitated. Longer than I should have. But eventually, I went. When I got to her apartment, I realized the truth. Her burn was a small blister on one finger. Nothing serious. No emergency. No hospital needed. She'd lied. Still, I found the first aid kit and wrapped it up, silent the entire time. As I turned to leave, she moved quickly, stepping behind me, wrapping her arms around my waist. "I knew you still cared," she whispered, voice trembling. I pried her hands off me. "Don't flatter yourself," I said coldly. "That was a paid favor. $200, cash or card?" She stared at me in disbelief, lip trembling. But she paid. Peeling off the bills with tight fingers, she tried one last time to pull me back. "You're really not giving me any more chances," she said, eyes glinting. I took the cash. Pulled my hand from hers. And left. But as I walked out, I caught something in her eyes, a flicker. Not sadness. Not love. Something colder. Something calculating. I should have known. A few days later, Victoria launched her attack. She didn't text, didn't call. She went straight to the internet. In a long, viral post, she painted herself as the victim, and me as a traitor. She claimed I'd been fired for poor performance, and that, bitter and vengeful, I'd returned only to steal confidential information. That I'd deliberately sabotaged the company from within, causing millions in damage. She ended the post with a dramatic flourish. His actions were not just disloyal, they were criminal. And to drive it home, she attached a video. I clicked. It was surveillance footage, taken from inside her apartment. The night I came over. The video was muted and carefully edited. Just long enough to show me entering her bedroom. And then leaving moments later, visibly unsettled. There was no context. No audio. Just a well-curated clip that made it look like I had something to hide. To anyone watching, it would appear I'd taken something. That I'd done something. That I'd run. The moment I finished watching it, the pieces fell into place. That strange invitation. Her oddly timed tears. Her claim of an emergency burn. Victoria was always calculated. Always composed. She never made decisions based on emotion, especially not when her entire company was on fire. That night hadn't been about reconciliation. It had been a trap. She'd lured me there to stage a betrayal. Now, with a single post, she'd turned public opinion against me. And the internet? It exploded. The internet turned into a mob. The comments under Victoria's post exploded with outrage, at me. Wait, he was her boyfriend? This poor woman, imagine being betrayed like that. He sounds like a narcissist. She tried to defend a struggling intern and he threw a tantrum, quit, and came back just to ruin her. That's not a man, it's a saboteur. Total scumbag. Corporate traitor. Blacklist him from the industry. Sue him. Make him pay back every cent. And then some. Let him rot in prison. I stared at the screen in silence. I'd thought we could end things with dignity. But Victoria, this version of her, was a stranger to me. Cold, calculating. And determined to burn down my entire future. My phone rang. It was her. I answered. Her voice was smooth. Too smooth. "See what happens when you forget your place," she said sweetly. "That was just a little lesson. You only got this far because I protected you. You never had to suffer real consequences. That's why you're reckless. Arrogant." She paused, Then her voice shifted, like she was offering a gift. But I'm calling because I'm feeling generous. I'll give you a way out. Come back. Be with me. Return to the company. If you do, I'll take down the post. Clear your name. No hard feelings. If not, well, I have other ways to make sure you learn your place. I didn't hesitate. You don't have to call again. I've made myself clear. No matter how many times you try, my answer's the same. I'm not coming back. I hung up. The next morning, she sued me. I got the summons by courier. Defamation. Intellectual theft. Corporate sabotage. Every charge possible. The news spread fast. I started getting texts from colleagues. From clients. One of them came from Mr. Miller, the president of Apex Ion Group. He wanted to help. To pull strings. To manage the scandal quietly. But I turned him down. Thank you, I said. Really? But this is something I need to handle myself. In court, they came in together. Victoria and Dylan. Hand in hand. She wore a somber gray suit. He wore a grin. As they passed, Dylan leaned in close, too close. He whispered. Still think you can beat me? You really believed Victoria dumped me? Nah. That was just for show. All of this, every bit of it, was our plan. Dragging your name through the mud? That was my idea. It's the only way we could save the company, give the public someone to blame. You. Now sit back and watch. You're going down. Completely. You'll lose everything. He pulled back, smirking. I didn't respond. Just looked past him. To Victoria. Her face was still, unreadable. But my chest felt heavy. This was the same woman I once defended, fought for. When she was falsely accused years ago, I'd gone door to door collecting evidence. Burned every favor I had to clear her name. And now? Now she was doing the same thing to me. Except she knew better. She knew what it felt like. She'd once sworn she'd never be the kind of person who lied to save herself. But here she was, doing it all for Dylan. Spinning lies. Burning bridges. Destroying the very man who stood by her when no one else would. The Victoria I once loved, the kind, principled woman, she was gone. What was left was hollow. And I finally understood. This wasn't heartbreak. This was war. Just before the hearing began, my phone lit up. It was a message from Victoria. One last chance. Come back to me. Return to the company. I'll withdraw the lawsuit. This is the best option, for both of us. She still thought I'd crawl back. Still thought I'd play servant in the empire she built on betrayal? No chance. I was just about to respond when Dylan made his move. He strutted to the bench, handed the judge a thick folder of evidence, then, without warning, turned and pointed his phone at the crowd. Live streaming. The entire trial. Within seconds, the comments section was a flood of venom. This guy's disgusting. Stealing from his own girlfriend's company? Burn him. Prison's too good. The judge looked over the documents with a furrowed brow, then fixed me with a glare of disgust. Mr. Marcus, he said sharply, you stand accused of stealing confidential corporate data, leading to significant losses. How do you plead? The room went still. And I smiled. A slow, deliberate smile. Murmurs broke out. People whispered. Viewers online started commenting in real time. Is he, smiling? Dude's lost it. Guilty conscience cracked him open. Dylan laughed mockingly. Why are you grinning? Realized there's no way out and decided to play crazy? Victoria scoffed. Pathetic. He's just flailing before the fall. They had no idea. The ones about to fall weren't me. I reached into my jacket, pulled out my phone, and tapped play on a voice recording. "Your Honor," I said calmly, "before I answer that, I think you should hear this." The courtroom held its breath. From the phone speaker came the unmistakable voice of Victoria, recorded in her own apartment. The night she lured me over. Every word. Every manipulation. Crystal clear. You could feel the temperature in the room shift. Dylan went pale. Victoria stiffened like she'd been slapped. "Wait, you recorded me," she snapped, her voice rising. "You sneaky bastard. I didn't think you were capable of this." I looked her dead in the eyes. "Oh, I'm the sneaky one? You doctored surveillance footage to frame me for corporate theft. I brought a recorder to protect myself. And I'm the one without morals? Spare me the outrage." Her mouth opened, then clamped shut. The red in her face spread all the way to her neck. Meanwhile, the room had turned on them. People in the gallery muttered in disbelief. And online? The live stream exploded. "Wait. SHE was lying? Yo, this just flipped hard. Rewind that audio," she set him up. "These two are literal trash. Framed an innocent guy to cover up their own incompetence. What kind of psycho runs a company like this? No wonder they're getting sued left and right." Victoria and Dylan couldn't look anywhere without seeing disgust. The rage that had been directed at me had turned full force onto them. I didn't wait. I formally filed a counterclaim, public defamation, slander, and emotional distress. The judge, after reviewing the audio and the forged evidence, didn't even need time to deliberate. Gavel down. The court finds the defendants guilty of malicious defamation and false accusation. They are ordered to pay the plaintiff, Mr. Marcus, $5 million in damages. $5 million. Not enough to erase what they tried to do to me. But more than enough to destroy them. Victoria stared at the floor like it might swallow her whole. Dylan looked like he was going to puke. And me? I finally stopped smiling. Now I was calm. Focused. This was just the beginning. Thanks to viral reposts, the courtroom drama exploded online. Headlines. Hashtags. Commentary videos. Victoria's company took a direct hit. Investors panicked. Clients backed away. The internet was eating her alive. As we exited the courthouse, Victoria spun around and threw me a venomous glare. "Marcus. I just wanted to get back together. Did you have to blow things up like this?" I didn't even look at her. "I told you," I said coldly, "we're done. For good." She stomped closer, her voice rising with every word. "All this, just because of Dylan? You're a grown man, why are you acting so petty with someone half your age? I've told you, the only reason I ever favored him was because of his father. Why are you making this so personal?" From the sidelines, Dylan stood smirking like he'd won a prize. And just to twist the knife, he chimed in. "You're really being harsh here. This whole thing could have been avoided if you weren't so. I mean, I would have never pushed her this far." I laughed. Did he forget? All of this, everything, was his fault. He tanked the project. He triggered the lawsuits. He nearly brought the company to ruin. "If you care about her so much," I said dryly, "why don't you just stay with her?" Victoria's face turned crimson with rage. "You think I won't?" She grabbed Dylan's hand in hers, fingers lacing tight. "Fine. You want this? From this moment forward, Dylan's my boyfriend. And you?" Her eyes narrowed. "You crossed the wrong woman, Marcus. Don't think you'll walk away untouched. Leaving me will be the worst mistake of your life." Mark my words, you will regret it. I didn't respond. Didn't flinch. Didn't even glance back. Regret? That wasn't the word. This wasn't loss. It was freedom. Finally, I could stop living under someone else's shadow and start building something that was mine. With everything behind me, I poured myself into my work at Apex Ion Group. No distractions. No manipulation. No drama. Just vision, strategy, execution, and results. In less than a year, our team secured multiple contracts worth over $40 million each. The company skyrocketed. Our market presence expanded. Clients lined up. The board was ecstatic. We were rising fast, and this time, I was in control. As for Victoria, she and Dylan were getting torn apart online. Public backlash hit hard. People were furious they'd tried to ruin someone just to save face, and then lied about it. Victoria's company never recovered. Boycotts took off. Influencers torched their brand. Articles exposed one scandal after another. Stock plummeted. Investors bailed. Employees jumped ship. The same colleagues who once defended her. They now messaged me in whispers. She's hanging on by a thread. There's panic inside. People are quitting left and right. And honestly, I thought that was the end of it. The way things were going. I figured Victoria's company would go under any day now. But I was wrong. She wasn't done yet. What I didn't expect was that Victoria's company didn't crash and burn. It came roaring back to life. Somehow, under Dylan's so-called leadership, the business was not only salvaged, it started thriving. With the turnaround, Dylan won back Gregory's favor. The old man even reinvested. Soon, the company was back on its feet, stronger than before. And just like that, Victoria made it official. She and Dylan went public with their relationship, press conference, cameras, headlines, all of it. She appointed him vice president and handed over half the company shares. Half. That was a level of trust and indulgence I had never even come close to. Victoria was showering Dylan with praise, power, and a platform he'd never earned. Then came the social media blitz. Couple photos. Love notes. Anniversary captions. TikToks. Reels. Endless PDA. And because the universe clearly loves drama, she created a new account just to message me directly. Bet you didn't see that coming. Not only did we not go bankrupt, we're doing better than ever. Even if you begged me now, I wouldn't let you crawl back. You lost big time. You thought we needed you? Please. Dylan's 10 times more reliable than you ever were. Not even an hour later, Dylan chimed in with his own smug little message. So what if you won the lawsuit? At the end of the day, I'm still the one on top. Bet you're seething, huh? Face it, you just don't have what it takes to play the game. I stared at their taunts, unfazed. But deep down, something didn't sit right. Dylan? Reviving a company? The guy didn't even finish high school. He once thought a balance sheet was a workout plan. There's no way in hell he orchestrated a corporate recovery like that. My gut told me this was all smoke and mirrors. So I hired someone to look into it. Sure enough, there were cracks in the fairy tale. Big ones. I gathered the evidence and almost sent it to Victoria. But then I paused. We weren't anything anymore. No strings, no loyalty, no obligation. And even if I did send it, she'd never believe me. Worse, she'd probably accuse me of faking the data out of jealousy. She stopped trusting me a long time ago. Why should I care now? So I tossed the files back into the drawer and walked away. Let them crash and burn on their own. I had better things to do. Just then, Mr. Miller called. Marcus, we've got a big bid coming up. I want you to represent Apex Ion. I accepted and headed to the venue. And the moment I stepped into the lobby, I froze. Two familiar faces stood at the far end of the hall. Victoria and Dylan. Of course. Because life has a sense of humor. Victoria swept into the venue draped in a wine-red evening gown, the silk hugging every curve with precision. Dylan followed beside her in a crisp white suit, hair slicked back, gold-rimmed glasses perched neatly on his nose, the picture of smug elegance. Red and white, striking and coordinated. They didn't just arrive. They performed. The crowd noticed. Isn't that Miss Albright and Mr. Frost from Albright Group? They really do look like a power couple. I heard their company was on the brink, and he turned it around overnight. How the hell did he pull that off? The courtroom scandal had bruised their reputation, sure, but the so-called comeback? It made headlines. Industry folk started calling it legendary. Then Victoria spotted me. Her expression twisted into a sneer before her voice turned sharp. What the hell are you doing here? Don't tell me you followed us. Haven't seen you in a while, and you already look like a stray dog. Dylan leaned in with his signature smirk, fanning the flames. Come on, Vic, don't be too harsh. Marcus is probably jobless and desperate. Poor guy's just hoping to cling to the past. I mean, can you blame him? Victoria's brows lifted, visibly pleased. So that's it. You've hit rock bottom, and now you're here begging for forgiveness? Weren't you the one acting all high and mighty? Didn't want me back? Now you're crawling? Too bad. That ship sailed. Even if you got on your knees, I wouldn't let you come back. I gave you chances, Marcus. You burned them. Whatever happens to you now, you earned it. They stood above me, shoulder to shoulder, echoing each other's taunts like synchronized villains. I let them talk. Let them believe their own fantasy. Then I cut in, voice cool and flat. You really think I came here for you? I'm here as a company representative. For the bid. The silence that followed was deafening. Then they both laughed, hard. You? Representing a company? Dylan scoffed. What company would hire you? Come on, man. You've been out of work for months. This is sad. You're still lying just to save face? Victoria chimed in. Pretending you're someone again? You know, Dylan added, grinning like he pitied me, Victoria's a softie. Say sorry nicely enough, she might let you clean the office floors. Victoria folded her arms and smirked, going in for the kill. Seriously. Only role left at my company is janitor. You want that, Marcus? Mop and bucket? That's about all you're good for these days. Dylan looked positively smug, but feigned kindness like a second skin. What are you standing around for? Shouldn't you be thanking Victoria? Sure, it's janitorial work, but hey, better than starving, right? Drop the ego already. He reached out to pat my shoulder like we were old pals. I shoved his hand aside without hesitation. Move. You're in my way. Dylan stumbled back, yelping like I'd punched him in the gut. Vic. Did you see that? I was just trying to help Marcus, and this is how he treats me? Victoria turned on me with fire in her eyes. Apologize. Now. I didn't flinch. Just walked past her and sat down calmly at my designated seat. Her face went crimson. Security. She pointed at me like I was a cockroach on her shoe. Get this liar out of here. Who the hell let him in? Don't let random strays in next time, you're polluting the air in here. The guards moved, hesitant but obedient, they knew better than to cross Victoria Albright. And then. What's going on here? The voice sliced through the room like a whip. Every head turned. Standing at the entrance was Mr. Howard, founder of Sunrise Holdings, the biggest name in the room, the man everyone was dying to impress. Sunrise Holdings wasn't just a heavyweight. It was the stepping stone to global status. A nod from Mr. Howard could elevate a local firm to Fortune 500 overnight. The guards froze. Victoria's face did a whiplash U-turn, flipping to a sweet-as-syrup smile. Dylan followed suit. "Mr. Howard." "Apologies for the disturbance," Victoria gushed. "We were just removing a troublemaker. This man snuck in somehow. Obviously not part of the event. We can't have people like him disrupting your conference." Mr. Howard's eyes scanned the room. And landed on me. "Wait, you're..." I gave him a small shake of my head. I didn't want the spotlight, not yet. He understood instantly. His expression hardened. "This event is tightly vetted. If he's here, he has a legitimate invitation. Enough. Anyone who stirs up drama from this point forward will have their bid revoked." Silence fell like a guillotine. Victoria and Dylan stiffened. "Why yes, of course," she murmured, seething but compliant. As Howard turned to leave, Dylan hissed under his breath at me. "You got lucky." I ignored him. Took my seat. Didn't even glance their way. But they weren't done yet. Not by a long shot. The bidding session began. As if choreographed, Victoria and I both stepped forward, side by side, and handed our respective proposals to Mr. Howard at the same time. She threw me a sideways glance, brows raised in genuine surprise. "You actually have a proposal? I didn't think you'd manage to get a job." Dylan's eyes flickered with a flash of something darker, resentment, maybe? Still, he forced a thin-lipped smile. "Look, take it from me, just walk away. Save yourself the public humiliation. It'll be ugly." He chuckled, smug and syrupy. "I mean, let's be real, whatever tiny firm you crawled into can't possibly compete with us. It's suicide, Marcus. I'm saying this for your sake." I didn't bother replying. Silently, I handed my proposal to Mr. Howard. Victoria snorted. "How delusional can you get?" She and Dylan leaned back, arms crossed, clearly ready to enjoy the show when I crashed and burned. But the next second, Mr. Howard didn't even look at their proposal. He tossed it aside. Then, with calm precision, he opened mine. Eyes scanning line by line. A smile began to form. "Mr. Ellington," he said, standing up and offering his hand, "this proposal is excellent. Let's work together." I took his hand. "Pleasure's mine." Around us, silence. Dylan blinked like he'd been slapped. "Wait, what?" Victoria gasped. "You're choosing him? Over us?" Dylan stepped forward, eyes narrowing in accusation. "You must have manipulated something. No way a random nobody wins over a flourishing company like ours." And then he sneered, voice low but loud enough for the others to hear. "Unless, you sold yourself for the deal. That's what this is, isn't it?" Gasps. Whispers. Victoria crossed her arms, lips curled in disgust. "I really didn't expect you'd stoop this low. You're pathetic, Marcus." Suddenly, the crowd turned. Words like shameless, gross, and sleazy floated around me. I opened my mouth, but before I could respond, Howard slammed his palm down on the table. "Enough." His voice cracked like thunder across the hall. The room froze. "Are you all out of your minds? This man, Mr. Marcus Ellington, is the managing director of Apex Ion Group." Another wave of silence. This time heavier. Embarrassed. Victoria and Dylan looked like they'd seen a ghost. Their eyes locked on me, wide with horror and disbelief. "What? Apex Ion Group? That's one of the most elite corporations in the industry. Gasps rippled through the room like a sudden wind. There's no way he's Apexion's managing director, someone muttered. Victoria pointed a trembling finger at me, voice rising in protest. Mr. Howard, please, he's lying. Marcus is a compulsive liar. You can't be falling for this. Dylan chimed in right away, voice full of mock concern. She's right, sir. Marcus used to work for us, we had to fire him because he couldn't even do the basics. He shrugged as if it pained him to say it. How could someone like that possibly make it into Apex Ion, let alone lead it? I turned my gaze to them slowly, calm as ever. Not convinced? Then check the Apex Ion Group's official website. I paused, my tone razor sharp. Go on. Look up the executive team page. The managing director, you'll find my name. My face. Victoria, burning to prove me wrong, whipped out her phone. Within seconds, her eyes locked onto the screen. She froze. There it was. My name. My photo. Apex Ion Group, Managing Director, Marcus Ellington. She stared at me, her expression unreadable, a war of disbelief, regret, and something dangerously close to panic. Dylan leaned over to peek. The moment he saw it, he clenched his jaw tight. A vein pulsed near his temple. Still, he forced a smug grin. So what? He scoffed. You're clearly just using Apexion's name to pull strings. He turned to Mr. Howard. Sir, you didn't even look at our proposal. How can this be fair to the rest of us? It looks a lot like favoritism. His voice dripped with poison. You've clearly pre-decided the winner. Victoria's eyes narrowed, arms crossed. This is beneath you, Marcus. I can't believe you'd stoop to backdoor deals. Voices began rising from the crowd. This whole thing's a setup. So we were just pawns in a rigged game? We want an explanation. I stared coldly at Dylan and Victoria. I earned this contract on merit. I sleep well at night. I turned toward the room. As for why your proposals didn't win, well, maybe it's because no one in their right mind wants to partner with a company circling the drain. Victoria blinked. What are you talking about? I pulled out my phone and held up the screen. There it was, the latest headline flashing across every major business outlet. Breaking, Dylan Frost accused of financial fraud, company under investigation. Her face went pale. What is this? I smiled, slow and cold. You didn't know? Your golden boy's been cooking the books. And now the whole industry knows. What? Fraud? Victoria stood frozen, her voice barely above a whisper. Her expression faltered, eyes narrowing in disbelief. Without hesitation, she snatched my phone from my hand. Her pupils shrank as she scanned the headline. Dylan's name splashed across the screen in bold black letters, alongside phrases like financial fraud, false accounting, and impending prosecution. Her fingers trembled as she handed the phone back. What the hell is this, Dylan? Her voice was low but sharp as a blade. Dylan blinked, momentarily stunned, but quickly recovered, mustering a wide-eyed look of wounded innocence. I have no idea what any of this is, he said, voice cracking ever so slightly. And then, his eyes watered. Marcus, I don't know what I ever did to hurt you, but this? You're really trying to destroy me? He looked at me as though I'd betrayed a lifelong friend. It was a sickening performance. Victoria's gaze swung toward me, cold and furious. So that's your game? Out of jealousy, you made all this up to frame him? Her words stung, not because I cared about her opinion anymore, but because she still wanted to believe in Dylan. But this time, I was ready. I pulled out my phone again and forwarded the investigation dossier I'd quietly compiled over the past few weeks, the financial trail, the falsified balance sheets, the anonymous loan applications under her name. Then I looked her square in the eye. Open the file. See for yourself who Dylan really is. Your company didn't come back from the dead. It was propped up on lies. The mysterious funds? He borrowed them using your name, and now your entire company is on the hook. Victoria's hands shook as she tapped through the documents, and the color drained from her face. The crowd, still lingering, was now abuzz. So the company's miracle comeback was a scam? Unbelievable, all a cover-up? Disgusting. All eyes turned on Victoria again, this time, filled with disdain. Her face burned crimson. She spun to Dylan, eyes blazing. You idiot. Look what you've done. But her voice caught. Dylan was gone. He'd vanished the moment the truth broke. The crowd parted as she stormed out, humiliated. That night, headlines confirmed it, Victoria's company had officially declared bankruptcy. Creditors were circling. Lawsuits were imminent. Inside what remained of her office, the walls echoed with shouting. Smack! Victoria's slap rang through the room, a sound no one who heard it would forget. Dylan clutched his face, eyes brimming, voice trembling. I only wanted to prove myself, you know what it's like. Dad never. But Victoria cut him off, voice like ice. I've had enough of your pathetic sob stories. She pointed to the door. Get out. I don't want to see your face again. Later that week, Dylan's humiliation worsened. His father, furious at the scandal, the disgrace, the lost investments, beat him in front of the household staff, calling him a disgrace and a mistake. And just like that, he was disowned. Evicted. Erased. Only then did the public learn the final blow. Dylan Frost had been a bastard son all along. Everything he'd done, every lie, every scheme, was to earn the respect of a father who'd never claimed him. But instead of rising, he'd dragged everyone down with him. I thought I'd seen the last of them. Dylan had tried crawling back to Victoria, but she wasn't having it. She fired him without ceremony, cold, final. When I heard, I didn't feel a shred of pity. If anything, it felt like karma working right on schedule. But just when I thought the curtain had closed on this whole farce, Victoria showed up. That evening, I stepped out of a Pections building, the sun sinking behind the skyline, and there she was, leaning on the hood of a white Mercedes, waiting. Her face lit up the moment she saw me. Just got off work, she asked brightly. Let me drive you home. I didn't respond. My eyes drifted to the passenger seat where a familiar plush toy sat, Dylan's signature move. He used to gift her these little trinkets, stuffed animals, knickknacks, keychains. They'd slowly crept into every corner of our shared life like a virus, living room shelves, car dashboards, bedroom drawers. Dylan had embedded himself in everything. Even now, his presence clung like stale perfume. Once upon a time, this would have driven me crazy with jealousy. Now? I just found it laughable. No need. I'll call a cab. My tone was flat, emotionless. That passenger seat is sacred, isn't it? Reserved for Dylan. Wouldn't want to violate tradition. Her face blanched. Following my gaze, she finally noticed the plush toy. In a rush, she yanked it from the seat and tossed it into the nearest trash can like it was contaminated. Then, with a tight, sheepish smile, she looked at me for a reaction. I wasn't thinking. That thing's gone now. You won't have to look at anything that reminds you of him. She reached for my arm. I stepped back. No hesitation. Her smile crumbled. And then, without warning, she dropped to her knees on the pavement. Thud. Hard. Desperate. Tears welled in her eyes instantly, her voice cracking with emotion. Please, Marcus. I didn't know. I swear, I didn't know what kind of man Dylan really was. I was blind. I see it all now, you're the one who treated me right. Give me a second chance. I'll love you properly this time. I looked down at her, unmoved. You already betrayed me once. That was all I needed to know. The moment you sided with him and tore me down to build him up, you made your choice. She sobbed harder. I only said those things about you because I wanted you back. I was trying to teach you a lesson. I didn't mean to hurt you. I cut her off, my voice low. You love like a prison cell, Victoria. And I'm done serving time. Her lips parted, as if to argue, but I wasn't finished. And let's not pretend this is about love. You're not here for me. You're here because the debts are piling up and you need a lifeline. The silence that followed said everything. Her face flushed with shame. That's not. I didn't wait to hear the lie. I turned and walked. Behind me, I heard her scrambling, the rapid click of heels against pavement, and then the stumble. Smack. She hit the ground hard, a sharp cry escaping her throat. I turned. She was on the sidewalk, knees scraped raw, hands trembling, mascara streaked with tears. Marcus, please. Her voice was barely a whisper. I looked at her, this woman who once held all the power, reduced to wreckage on concrete. And I kept walking. There was a time I would have rushed to her side, lifted her up, brushed the dirt off her knees, held her close, whispered that everything was okay. That time was over. Now, watching Victoria crumpled on the pavement, sobbing with dramatic flair, I felt nothing but disgust. She looked up at me through tears, searching for a reaction. Anything. I fell, she choked out. You're just going to stand there and do nothing? Don't you care? We're strangers now. Why would I? The words landed like a slap. She stared at me, desperate to find some flicker of emotion behind my eyes. There was none. And that's when she knew, this wasn't anger or spite. I wasn't punishing her. I'd let go. Funny, I couldn't pinpoint when it happened. Maybe it was the lies. Maybe it was watching her humiliate me in public, again and again. But somewhere along the way, the flame had gone out. Now, even as she stumbled toward me, limping on a bruised knee, trying to grab at the hem of my coat, I felt nothing. I was wrong, she gasped. Please, give me another chance. Her hand reached for mine, and caught nothing but air. I sidestepped, and her arm froze mid-air, trembling with the weight of rejection. There won't be another chance, I said, voice steady. And with that, I walked away. Behind me, I heard her cry harder, her voice cracking, her pride crumbling, but I didn't stop. Not this time. For once, her pain didn't slow me down. After that night, I didn't give the situation another thought. Life went on. So did I. But then Monica, my mother, called. So, she said cheerily, when are you and Victoria finally tying the knot? She'd asked that same question at least 100 times over the years. I had always dodged it, made excuses, changed the subject. This time, I told her the truth. We broke up. A pause. Then a quiet, measured response. Oh. Well, if you're okay, then I'm okay. She didn't press. Didn't ask questions. But the next day, she sent me a contact. Her name's Anna. She's 5 years younger than you, daughter of our old neighbors. Smart, kind, not bad on the eyes either. Even if you're not ready to date, just be friends. No pressure. I didn't want her to worry, so I added Anna. Turned out, she lived just 3 buildings over, same community. We started chatting. She liked hiking. I liked hiking. She loved dogs. I had one. She didn't fill every sentence with passive-aggressive barbs or try to change who I was. It was easy. With Victoria, things were always hard, forced. I liked to run, she hated getting her shoes dirty. I liked quiet mornings, she liked chaos. With Anna, everything just clicked. One night, she messaged me. "Want to go for a walk?" I looked outside. It was a quiet evening. The air felt clean. "Yeah," I replied. "Why not?" I threw on something casual and headed downstairs. She was already waiting outside, light brown ponytail swinging, a bright hoodie over faded jeans, scanning the street with quiet anticipation. There was something in her posture, in the tilt of her head, that reminded me of Victoria back in college. Back when she used to smile like that. "Marcus?" Anna walked over, warm and open. I nodded. We fell into step, and conversation flowed easily. Effortless. No awkward pauses, no one dominating the space, just natural rhythm, back and forth. On the walk home, we spotted an injured stray limping along the sidewalk. Its back leg was swollen, fur matted with dirt. Anna stopped immediately. Without hesitation, she knelt down, bare knees against the pavement, and began gently wrapping the wound with a spare napkin from her bag. Then she walked into the nearest convenience store and came back with a pack of ham. "Here, buddy. You must be starving." Watching her, something in me softened. Something I didn't realize had been tense for a long time. I've always loved cats. But Victoria hated them. Said they were dirty, full of fleas and disease. She couldn't even walk past one without shuddering. Her obsession with cleanliness turned every pet into a health hazard. Over time, I stopped bringing it up. Stopped thinking about having one. Even feeding strays on the street would earn me an earful. "If you really cared about them, you'd let them starve," she once said. Fewer of them breeding means fewer dying. Maybe it made sense on paper. But I'm not wired like that. I feel things. I see a pair of frightened eyes hiding under a trash bin, and I can't pretend I didn't. And maybe that's the problem, she and I were never built the same. All logic, no heart. Anna, meanwhile, was gently cradling the little stray like it meant something. "I want to keep him," she said. "But I'm allergic to cat fur. Would it be crazy if I asked you to take him in?" "Of course, I'll cover all the food and vet bills. I just want to make sure he's safe." I smiled. "I like cats, too. He can stay with me. But we're splitting the costs," I added. "Let's call it co-parenting." She laughed, light, grateful. And for a moment, it felt like we were exactly where we both belonged. We just turned the corner with the cat curled in a blanket in Anna's arms when I heard it. The sharp, unmistakable rhythm of heels on pavement. I turned around, and there she was. Victoria. Her eyes were red, puffy. Makeup smudged. She looked straight at me like she hadn't slept in days. "Marcus." Her voice cracked. Anna caught the shift in the air. Without needing an explanation, she nodded and quietly slipped away, still carrying the kitten. Victoria stood there, hesitating for a beat before stepping closer. "Who was that? Is she your girlfriend? Answer me." "I didn't." "And why did you change the lock?" "I tried your birthday. I tried our anniversary. Nothing works." She looked confused, even hurt. She didn't realize I'd changed the lock after she broke into my apartment without permission. And she never even thought to try my birthday. The irony stung for a second, then passed. "Do you need something?" I didn't answer her questions. Just asked my own, cold and direct. Victoria looked at me with glassy eyes, voice soft and trembling. "I miss you," she said. "I haven't had a single good night's sleep since we broke up. I've cut Dylan off completely. Can't we just start over? To prove it, she pulled out her phone and showed me screen after screen, his contact gone from every messaging app, every social media feed. Deleted, blocked, erased. Her gaze lingered on my face, nostalgic and pleading. It wasn't until I lost you that I realized, I can't do this without you. The company's gone. I'm drowning in debt. I brought this all on myself. But I'm not here to make you responsible for any of it. I'll pay back every cent. I just want a second chance. That's all I'm asking. I looked at her, voice level, heart quiet. I don't need that, I said. I'm good now. My career's thriving. My life is calm. Peaceful. Better than it's ever been. Something in her cracked. Is this because of that girl just now? She snapped. She's not right for you. We were always supposed to be together. She reached into her coat pocket and pulled out something small, something I hadn't seen in years. A worn, leather bracelet. The clasp had my name engraved on it. Marcus, she whispered. Do you remember this? Of course I remembered. It was our promise token. A matching set. Each bracelet bore the other's name, hers on mine, mine on hers. We exchanged them at that music festival near the main stage, drunk on the noise and the heat and the future we thought we'd have. Promised forever. But forever didn't happen. Funny thing is, the day Dylan joined the company, my bracelet snapped. Just came loose out of nowhere, the leather split, the clasp dangling by a thread. That night, I rushed to have it fixed. I thought maybe, just maybe, fixing the bracelet would fix us too. But I was stupid. Things that break? Even when you glue them back together, they're never the same. A relationship that shatters doesn't heal, it just hides the cracks until they cut deeper. Snapping back to the moment, I reached out and took the bracelet from her. Victoria's eyes lit up, breath catching. I knew it, she said, voice rising. I knew you still loved me. Before she could finish the sentence, I turned and tossed the bracelet straight into the nearest trash can. No hesitation. No sentiment. Just the sound of old promises hitting plastic. Victoria stood frozen. Then, as if waking from a trance, she lunged toward the trash can like a woman possessed. This was the same Victoria who once refused to sit on public benches for fear of germs. Now she was elbow-deep in yesterday's garbage, frantically digging through banana peels and coffee cups until she found it. That old bracelet. She clutched it to her chest like it was a relic, voice trembling. This was our promise. Our memories. Our best years, how could you just throw it away? I looked at her without flinching. A bracelet that doesn't fit? You toss it. Same with people. We're not getting back together, Victoria. Let it go. Panic crept into her voice, sharp and desperate. Why? You expect me to believe you've just moved on like that? Nothing even happened between me and Dylan. I messed up, but I admitted it. We can go back, make things right. Why are you doing this? I didn't respond. She grabbed my arm, crying now, tears streaking her cheeks, her grip tight, shaking. Please don't do this, she whispered. You think I'm lying? Fine, let's go now. Right now. To City Hall. We'll get married first thing in the morning, I swear. Just say yes. Please. I pulled my arm free, patience finally spent. That's enough, Victoria. Let's end this with some dignity. The more you chase, the more I want to run. And with that, I turned and walked upstairs, leaving her standing there in the dark. She stayed all night. And I didn't sleep either. The next day, Anna asked if I wanted to catch a movie. I said yes. Maybe a change of pace would help shake off the weight of last night. We picked a quiet matinee, found our seats, and just as I was settling in. What a coincidence. Victoria. Sitting right next to us. She smiled, trying to play casual. But her eyes flicked to Anna. Nervous. Calculating. My mood soured instantly. She'd followed me here. Didn't I make myself clear yesterday? I said, my voice cold. We're not getting back together. So what? She said, still smiling. I'm just here to win you back. You do remember who made the first move back then, don't you? Of course I remembered. Back in college, when I was still the quiet kid everyone overlooked. She stood up for me. She switched her classes just to sit next to me. Always found an excuse to talk. To laugh. To pull me out of my shell. I resisted at first. But over time, her warmth wore me down. Back then, she wasn't the poised, untouchable woman she is now. She was reckless, messy, bright as hell. All spark and spontaneity. And I fell hard. But that girl no longer existed. She had changed. And so had I. And whatever this was, whatever she was trying to reignite. That fire burned out a long time ago. While I was still processing her sudden appearance, Victoria had already stepped up to me, extending a carton of milk like a peace offering. I brought you some milk, she said gently. I remember how much we both loved it. I stared at the carton, then at her, and couldn't stop the bitter laugh rising in my chest. She had no idea. I never liked milk. In fact, I was mildly allergic. Back then, whenever we watched movies together, she always skipped milk. Some internet trend convinced her it would make her gain weight. She'd sulk, craving it but refusing to drink it. So I pretended I liked it. Ordered it just to throw most of it away, letting her, accidentally, finish mine. I did it because I loved her. I knew all her quirks. Her moods. Her favorites. 6 years together. And she never even realized I couldn't drink milk. I pushed the carton back toward her without a flicker of warmth. I'm allergic, I said flatly. Can't drink it. She froze, hand still half outstretched, her expression faltering into a brief flash of embarrassment. For a moment she stood silent, then turned to Anna and said, out of nowhere. Hi. Would you mind switching seats with me? I'd like to sit next to Marcus. I blinked. Unbelievable. Just as I opened my mouth to shut her down, Anna beat me to it, her fingers slipped around my arm, a smile blooming on her face like sunshine through fog. Oh, sorry. I can't, she chirped sweetly. I like sitting next to my boyfriend. The words hit the air like a slap. Victoria froze. So did I. I turned to Anna, mildly startled. But then I caught the playful glint in her eyes and immediately understood. She was helping me out. So I didn't correct her. Victoria, on the other hand, looked like she'd been struck by lightning. Boyfriend, she echoed, voice cracking. What are you talking about? You're dating someone. Finally, an opportunity too good to waste. I slipped my fingers into Anna's and pulled her a little closer, meeting Victoria's eyes with calm finality. Why not? I said. Let me introduce you, this is Anna. My girlfriend. Victoria's face went pale. Her lips trembled. No. No, I don't believe you. You're lying. You're trying to hurt me. You love me. You wouldn't be with someone else. Not really. And then her voice shifted. Her expression sharpened, she was trying to regain control. A familiar glint appeared in her eye, like she was about to play her trump card. I get it now, Victoria said with a scoff, her eyes narrowing. She's an actress, right? You hired her to get back at me. You're still mad. This is just some show, your way of punishing me, isn't it? She stepped closer, trying to reach for my hand. All right, you've made your point. I'm sorry, okay? I've apologized. Can we just go home now? I swear, I'll listen to you from now on. Whatever you say, I'll do. Isn't that enough? I didn't bother replying. I turned back to Anna, pulled her closer, and let my voice drip with affection. Sorry, you're interrupting my date with Anna. Anna, quick on the uptake, leaned her head on my shoulder and smiled sweetly at Victoria. Marcus and I are getting engaged, she said casually. When we send out wedding invites, I hope you'll RSVP. That was the breaking point. Victoria's face twisted. She stood up abruptly, blocking the screen as the movie played on behind her. Her voice cracked as she pointed at me, eyes brimming with tears. I'm your fiancée, she cried. You promised me you'd never marry anyone else. You said I was the only one you'd ever love. How can you turn around and act like this, right in front of me? You're going to marry her? No. No, I won't let you. I laughed, sharp and cold. You need to get a grip. You're my ex. You don't get a say. And by the way, weren't you the one always getting handsy with Dylan right in front of me? Every time I said something, you called me jealous, insecure. Said I was paranoid. That people with a dirty heart see dirt everywhere. So it was fine for you and Dylan, but suddenly I'm the bad guy for moving on with my actual girlfriend? Don't flatter yourself. Victoria's face twisted in rage, her body trembling. Her complexion darkened, like someone had smashed a tray of watercolors across her face, pale, red, and violet all at once. You're mine, she screamed. I won't let you be with anyone else. She lunged toward us, hand outstretched like she wanted to claw Anna away from me. But Anna was faster. She stepped forward and shoved Victoria aside, not hard, just firm enough to make her stumble. You look like a desperate lunatic, Anna snapped. It's pathetic. No wonder he's done with you. Marcus is mine now. Maybe if you hadn't broken his heart, he wouldn't have needed me to love him better. Victoria's rage boiled over. She glared daggers at Anna. Stay out of this. You're just the homewrecker who wormed her way in. None of this would have happened if it weren't for you. What lies did you feed him? I'll ruin that pretty face of yours, see how charming you are then. And with that, she lunged, fingers curled like claws, aiming straight for Anna's face. Just as Victoria's claw-like fingers were about to rake across Anna's face, I lunged forward and pulled Anna behind me, taking the full blow myself. A flash of searing pain tore across my cheek. 3 jagged lines burned into my skin, and I felt warm blood begin to drip down. Victoria froze. She stared at the blood like it couldn't possibly be real. Her hand fell to her side as she took a shaky step back, guilt flickering across her face. I didn't mean to, I'm sorry. Anna quickly pulled out a tissue, gently blotting the wounds on my face, her touch trembling, her eyes filled with worry. Why would you be so reckless, she whispered, voice tight with emotion. That was meant for me. Before I could reply, Victoria snapped back to life, her eyes blazing. She shot Anna a venomous glare, lips curling with rage. This is your fault, she shrieked. If it weren't for you, Marcus wouldn't be hurt. Why don't you just drop dead? She lunged again, wild and unhinged, like a rabid animal. Her fingers reached toward Anna, trembling with fury. I stepped in front once more and, without hesitation, slapped her. Hard. The sound cracked through the theater like a whip. Victoria staggered back, her cheek blooming red with the shape of my hand. She pressed her palm to her face, stunned. You hit me, she gasped, tears welling in her eyes. You hit me, because of her? You've changed. You used to be gentle, you couldn't even raise your voice at me before. She was right. I had changed. Once upon a time, if she so much as sneezed, I would have rushed to her side. The time she fainted from heatstroke, I stayed up 2 nights straight nursing her back to health. I loved her fiercely, blindingly. And in return, she trampled that love. "You're right," I said coldly. "I have changed. I stopped loving you. But ask yourself, who made me this way?" She flinched like I'd hit her again. Because the truth was simple, the man who once adored Victoria no longer existed. He died the day she abandoned me for Dylan. He died when she made me feel like I was never enough. All that remained was this version of me, tired, jaded, done. I turned from her without another glance. Looking at Anna, my expression softened immediately. "You okay?" I asked gently. "Did she hurt you?" Anna shook her head, her fingertips brushing over the bloody scratches on my cheek. "I'm fine," she whispered. "But you, that must hurt so much." I chuckled, brushing it off. "I'm tougher than I look." She frowned, still worried. "You're lucky it didn't hit your eye," she murmured. "What if she'd scarred your face? I would have felt so guilty." I raised a brow, teasing. "Why? Afraid I'd be too ugly for you?" Anna flushed, her cheeks and ears turning pink. She looked away, biting back a smile. Watching Anna and I talk and laugh, Victoria stood frozen a few feet away, the smile long gone from her face. Her expression darkened, and something cold flickered behind her eyes. "Your gentleness belongs to me," she growled. "I won't let you give it to another woman." With that, she lunged again, trying once more to pull us apart. Her outburst, however, was the last straw for the audience around us. People had been whispering since the scene began, but now the complaints rose, loud and sharp. "Jesus, give it a rest already." The guys moved on. "Why can't you? Right? Acting like a complete psycho. And calling his girlfriend a homewrecker? That's rich. Clingy and crazy, not a great combo. If I were him, I'd be running too." The theater filled with murmurs of irritation and disgust. It didn't take long before the staff intervened. 2 employees approached swiftly, and without further negotiation, escorted Victoria out, her protests falling on deaf ears. As calm finally returned and the screen flickered back into focus, I turned to Anna with a breath of relief. "Hey, thanks. For earlier." Anna gave a soft smile, her voice light. "It was nothing. If anything, I should be the one thanking you, for protecting me back there." She leaned in slightly as she spoke, her breath brushing against my cheek. My pulse kicked up instantly. Thump. Thump. I sat a little straighter, flustered, my brain scrambling for an escape. I guess we're even now, then." "You helped me, I helped you." Anna tilted her head, eyes gleaming with mischief. "Not quite. You still owe me. So how about this, after the movie, you come over to my place?" My throat tightened. Her place? My brain launched into full alert. Too fast. Way too fast. What does this mean? Before I could fumble through a polite rejection, Anna grinned wickedly. "Relax. I need you to pick up the cat." I blinked. "The cat?" "Yeah. I've got a pretty bad cat hair allergy. I really wanted to keep him, but it's getting out of control." Only then did I notice the small red patches climbing her neck, hives, faint but clear. "Oh, damn, you should have said something," I murmured. "Wait here. I'll grab you some antihistamines." After the movie, I followed her to her place to pick up the cat. As I gathered the little furball into the carrier, Anna leaned casually against the doorway. "If you ever miss him," she said, "you can stop by. After all, you are the cat's mom." She smiled, then added with playful sweetness. "Take good care of him, okay, cat dad." Her eyes locked with mine, soft and affectionate, full of something I couldn't quite name, but felt like sunlight on skin. I looked away quickly, ears heating up. Something was blooming inside me, something warm and unfamiliar, and a little dangerous. Sensing the shift, I cleared my throat and stepped back. I should get going. Drive safe, she said, still smiling. I nodded, and practically bolted. Just as I stepped out of Anna's building, heart finally starting to calm down, a familiar figure snapped my attention. Victoria. She was standing by the curb, her eyes red and watery, as if she'd been crying the whole time. The moment she saw me, her expression twisted into a blend of betrayal and disbelief. That woman. She wasn't an actress, was she? She demanded, voice tight. You really came out of her place? She stepped forward, grabbing my arm before I could respond. Say something. I looked at her, expression blank. Honestly, I had nothing to say. But Victoria wasn't letting go, not physically, not emotionally. I thought I was the one who made a mistake, she cried. Turns out, it was you all along. You changed. I'm the one who's supposed to be your fiancée. I even bought an engagement ring. I was going to propose to you. How could you do this to me? Her voice cracked, drawing the attention of passers-by. And just like that, the crowd around us grew. Judgment came swift and loud, from people who didn't know a damn thing. Unbelievable. Cheating on your fiancé? Shame on you. Look at her, poor thing. Gave him her whole heart and got stabbed with it. Disgusting. These are the worst kind of men. Through it all, Victoria didn't say a word to stop them. No explanation. No effort to set the record straight. She stood there quietly, lips pressed together, soaking up their sympathy like a sponge. Of course. This wasn't heartbreak. It was revenge. She wanted me humiliated, wanted me to beg her like before, to crumble under the weight of guilt and give her exactly what she craved. My apology. My surrender. Too bad for her, I wasn't that Marcus anymore. I stared at her coolly. Let's get something straight. You're not the victim here. You were the one who changed. You were the one who drifted first. We're over. You don't get to police my life anymore. Her eyes filled again, and she took a step closer. So that's it, she whispered. You don't feel any guilt at all? You're just going to walk away like none of it mattered? How can you be so heartless? I gave her a long look. If this is the part where you start repeating yourself again, don't bother. I'm done wasting time. There are plenty of men out there. Go find Dylan. He seems more your type. That hit home. Victoria flinched as if I'd slapped her again. She covered her face with her hands and started sobbing harder, her voice shaking. You know I don't love Dylan. I've told you so many times, there's nothing between us. It's you. It's always been you. How can you throw away 6 years like it was nothing? But I wasn't moved. She always insisted there was nothing between her and Dylan. But her actions told another story. Every time Dylan shed a tear, she was the one rushing to comfort him. Every time he played the victim, she was the one who ached. And you don't ache for someone you don't love. Even if she didn't realize it herself. If Victoria truly valued the 6 years we spent together, Dylan would have never been in the picture to begin with. He wasn't the only reason we fell apart, he was just the most obvious one. The real cracks came from her indifference, the way she took everything for granted. Even without Dylan, someone else would have eventually taken his place. I didn't want to argue anymore. I stepped to the side, ready to walk away, but... Wait. She rushed forward, blocked my path, grabbed my hand, then shoved something cold and sharp onto my finger. Pain shot through my knuckle. I looked down. It was a diamond ring. Tight. Too tight. It was cutting into my skin. And it wasn't just uncomfortable, it didn't fit at all. It wasn't my size. I stared at the ring, clamped like a vice around my finger. So this was the ring she claimed she carefully picked for me? What a joke. If I wasn't mistaken, this was Dylan's size. Exactly Dylan's. The one she always claimed not to care about. The silence between us grew heavy. Around us, the onlookers had picked up on it too. Did she just try to propose with the wrong size ring? Wow. Talk about careless. Can't blame the guy for walking away, she didn't even bother getting it right. The air was thick with judgment, but none of it directed at me this time. I yanked the ring off and tossed it back at her. Give it to Dylan. Seems like it'd fit him better. That hit like a slap. Victoria froze, visibly panicking. Then she scrambled after me. Wait, I'm sorry. I can get a new one. I'll have it custom made. Just, please don't walk away. Marcus, I'll do anything. Whatever it takes. Just tell me how to fix this. I stopped in my tracks, turned slowly, and looked her dead in the eyes. You want to do something for me? Then leave. For good. Disappear from my life. Tears welled up again, but she shook her head furiously. No. Not that. Anything but that. Don't ask me to do that. She reached toward me again, desperate, trembling. I'd had enough. I pulled out my phone. You've been harassing me for days. Showing up at my home, my job. You're interfering with my life. You need to walk away right now, or I'm calling the police. We could have ended this clean, Victoria. But you keep making it ugly. Her face fell. The fight drained from her eyes. For a moment, she just stood there, staring. Then, finally, quietly, brokenly. Okay. I'll go. Just, don't hate me, please. And with that, she turned and ran, sobbing into her hands as the crowd watched her disappear. Maybe it was the things I said that day. Or maybe Victoria just got tired of hearing the word no. But for a long while after that, she vanished from my life. No texts. No calls. No dramatic scenes in public. And I didn't go looking for her either. Instead, I found myself spending more and more time with Anna. What started as two people passing a cat back and forth, became something else entirely. One evening, as we sat side by side on her couch, Anna suddenly turned to me, her eyes soft and serious. I want to be this little furball's mom forever, she whispered, stroking the kitten nestled in her lap. Would you want to be his dad forever, too? I blinked. Wait, haven't I always been his dad? She puffed out her cheeks in frustration, clearly embarrassed. Ugh, how can you be so dense? Do I have to spell it out? She looked like she was about to pout for real. Before she could turn away, I pulled her gently into my arms. Okay. No teasing. I get it. Anna, I like you. Let's make it official. That was all she needed. She lit up like a kid who'd just been handed a puppy and a lifetime supply of ice cream. The next thing I knew, she was posting our photos all over social media, complete with a giant caption. We're officially together. Her excitement made me think of someone else. Victoria. When we were dating, she always said going public would hurt her career. That being seen as, in a relationship, let alone being attached to a man, would ruin her chances of being taken seriously. She insisted that single, child-free women had the edge in the corporate world. So we spent 6 years in the shadows. 6 years without a single photo, a single post, a single acknowledgement that we were even a thing. And now here was Anna, bright, bold, and unapologetically proud of being with me. I buried my face into the curve of her neck, murmuring against her skin. "Are you sure posting about us won't hurt your career? I mean, don't people say that being single and childless makes women more marketable at work?" Anna just flicked my forehead, half annoyed, half amused. "Dummy. You're more important to me than any of that. And besides, in my field, what actually matters is talent. Not status. Only insecure posers buy into those outdated rules." I couldn't help it. My chest tightened. All the years I'd spent pretending it didn't hurt, the hiding, the excuses, the smallness of being someone's secret, suddenly caught up with me. I pulled Anna close, holding her tighter than ever. "I'm really lucky," I whispered. "So damn lucky it's you." Not long after that, I brought Anna home to meet Monica. As soon as Monica laid eyes on her, she lit up like Christmas morning. She's adorable. Kind, polite, and she smiles with her whole face. "Marcus, you better treat her right, or you'll have me to answer to." Anna laughed, offered Monica a warm hug, and helped her prep dinner without missing a beat. They chatted like old friends. It was easy. So easy, it made me remember the last time I brought someone home. Victoria. She'd looked around the place with thinly veiled disgust. The small town, the worn furniture, the faded wallpaper, it was all beneath her. She never said it out loud, but she didn't have to. Her body language screamed it. Anna, on the other hand, made herself part of the space. No judgment. No hesitation. Just kindness. Back when I brought Victoria home, it was a disaster from the start. While Monica busied herself in the kitchen, Victoria didn't lift a finger. She just stood there, arms crossed, watching like she was being forced to attend a charity dinner she didn't sign up for. When Monica, flustered and juggling too much at once, gently asked if Victoria could help, Victoria recoiled at the sight of her hands, slick with oil and garlic and love. She didn't even hide the disgust. When the food was finally on the table, Victoria rushed to the sink and scrubbed her hands like she'd been exposed to toxic waste, 10 pumps of soap, minimum. And yet, Monica still tried to be kind. She remembered Victoria once mentioning her irregular cycle, so the next time she visited, she brought a small gift, a box of carefully chosen herbal supplements. Victoria? She looked at her like she was trash walking on 2 legs. She made Monica wear shoe covers inside the apartment, banned her from touching anything, and the moment she left, she tossed the medicine in the trash without a second thought. I was furious. We fought, loud, bitter, ugly. But somehow, Monica ended up being the one to smooth things over, just to keep the peace. After that, Monica stopped visiting altogether. She knew she wasn't welcome, and rather than be the source of more tension, she backed away, for my sake. And me? I was buried in work. Too busy to visit. Too stupid to see the damage I was letting happen. Looking back now. God, I was an idiot. All for a woman who couldn't even pretend to respect the woman who raised me. But today was different. Today, I stood in the kitchen and watched Monica and Anna laugh over chopped vegetables and simmering broth. Anna teased her gently, and Monica giggled like a schoolgirl. I hadn't seen her this relaxed in years. And just like that, something clicked in my chest. So this is what it feels like, to love someone who fits. Someone who doesn't just love you, but also the people who made you who you are. Maybe this was what peace looked like. After dinner, Monica excused herself and disappeared into the back room. When she returned, her hands were cradling something small and green. Anna, she said softly, this is my most treasured necklace. I want you to have it. She held out a delicate emerald pendant on a fine gold chain, modest in price, maybe, but priceless in sentiment. Anna's eyes widened. Thank you, she said, voice trembling. Monica stepped forward, starting to clasp the necklace around her neck when. Stop. That necklace is mine. A sharp, jarring voice cut through the warm kitchen air like a knife. We all turned toward the front door. There, standing like a ghost from a past I no longer wanted, was Victoria. We turned toward the voice. Of course. Victoria. My face tensed the moment I saw her. It had been quiet lately, I'd actually dared to believe she'd finally moved on. But no. Like a ghost that refused to be laid to rest, she was back again. What the hell are you doing here? I snapped. Before she could answer, Monica's entire demeanor shifted. You again, my mom said sharply. Don't bother sweet-talking me. I told you, I'll never be okay with you and Marcus. He's happy now. With Anna. And you, stop trying to ruin that. I turned, eyes narrowing. Wait, what do you mean again? She's been bothering you? Monica gave a resigned nod. She's been coming by with gifts. Begging me to talk you into taking her back. I kicked her out every time. Guess she thought she could wear me down. So that's why she'd gone quiet. She wasn't done, she just changed targets. And while I stood there trying to process the sheer audacity, Victoria shoved her way between us, lunging toward Anna. That necklace, it's mine. Seriously? She was referring to the same necklace Monica had once tried to gift her. The one she'd sneered at. Called cheap. Tossed back like it burned her fingers. And now? Now she wanted it again? Before she could get close, Monica stepped between them and shoved her back. With quick hands, she clasped the emerald necklace around Anna's neck. It's Anna's now, she said firmly. You hurt my son. I'll never forgive that. Get out. I don't want to see your face again. Victoria's eyes flared, glassy with rage and something deeper, regret, maybe. She opened her mouth to argue, but Monica was already pointing at the door. Out. 3 months later, Anna and I stood at the altar. We exchanged vows. Rings. A kiss that sealed everything we'd been through, everything we were about to build. The audience clapped. Laughed. Cried. But not all the tears were happy. In the back row, I saw her. Victoria. Eyes swollen red, lips trembling. Mouthing something I could read even from a distance. Marcus. I'm sorry. And I hope you're happy. And then she left. For good. That night, a rumor spread. Victoria never made it home. Word was, after the ceremony, she'd snapped. Blamed Dylan for everything. Got in her car. Hit him. Again. And again. And then. She drove off a cliff. No brakes. No hesitation. They said her body was unrecognizable. I heard the news while Anna and I were on our honeymoon. We were watching the sun melt into the sea. Her head on my shoulder. A soft breeze in the air. I sighed. Said nothing. And then turned my attention back to Anna. 5 years later, I built something new. A business. A home. I brought Monica to live with us. Anna gave birth to twins, 2 wild, perfect souls who filled our house with laughter and chaos. And me? I finally learned to love the life in front of me. Because life is short. And I've wasted enough of it chasing what should have ended long ago. Now, I choose joy. Every single day.